This play needs no introduction. But if it did need an introduction, I would be the one to do it. See, this play takes place in England. It was written by an English author and in the earlier part of the 20th century. And now it's being performed by, well, Americans. The English have no respect for their language, according to the author of this play. And Americans, well, they just have no respect. It is thence that we find ourselves depicting a play with the hopes that any authentically English people who might be watching will despise us no more or less than they already do. But enough introduction, let us begin. We are now in Covent Garden, a market area and community hub in London, England. The time, 11:15 p.m. Torrents of heavy summer rain are coming down as people huddle for shelter on awnings. Some dressed in their best outing attire, while others are outdressed. Only two people's spirits don't seem particularly affected by the rain. One, a girl selling flowers, and two, a man taking notes. The church clock above them strikes the first quarter of the hour.
Getting chilled to the bone. What can Freddy be doing all this time? It's been gone 20 minutes.
Not so long. But he ought to have got us a cab by now.
No, he won't get no cab. Not till 11:30, missus. When they come back after dropping off their theatre fares.
But we must have a cab. We can't stand here until 11:30.
Well,
Too bad.
it ain't my fault, missus.
Freddy had a bit of gumption. He would have got one at the theatre door.
What could he have done, poor boy?
Other people have got cabs. Why couldn't he? Well, haven't you got a cab?
There's not one to be had for love or money.
Oh, Freddy! There must be one. You can't have tried.
Tiresome. Do you expect us to go and get one ourselves?
I tell you, they're all engaged. The rain was so sudden, nobody was prepared, and everybody had to take a cab.
Did you try Trafalgar Square?
There wasn't one at Trafalgar
Did you
Square.
try?
I tried as far as Charing Cross Station. Did you expect me to walk to Hammersmith?
You haven't tried at all.
You really are very helpless, Freddy. Go again and don't come back until you have found a cab.
I shall simply get soaked for nothing.
And what about us? Are we to stay here all night in this draft with nothing next to nothing on? Selfish pig.
Very well. I'll go.
Now then, Freddy, look where you're going, dear.
Sorry.
There's manners for you. 2 bunches of violets trod in the mud.
How do you know that my son's name is Freddy, pray?
Oh, he's your son, is he? If you'd done your duty by him as a mother, surely he'd know better than to spoil a poor girl's flowers and run away without paying. Will you pay me for 'em?
Do nothing of the sort, Mother. The idea.
Please, allow me, Clara. Have you any pennies?
No, nothing smaller than a sixpence.
I can give you change for a tenner, kind lady.
Give it to me. Now, this is for your flowers.
Thank you, kindly lady.
Make her give you the change. These things are only a penny a bunch.
Do hold your tongue, Clara. You can keep the change.
Oh, thank you, lady.
Now, tell me how you know that young gentleman's name.
I didn't.
I heard you call him by it. Don't try to deceive me.
Who's trying to deceive you? I'll call him Freddy or Charlie, same as you might yourself if you were talking to a stranger and wished to be pleasant.
Sixpence thrown away. Really, Mama, you might have spared Freddy that.
Oh, sir, is there any sign of it stopping?
Afraid not. I started rather worse than ever about 2 minutes ago.
Oh dear.
If it's worse, it's a sign it's nearly over. So cheer up, Captain, and buy a flower for poor girl.
Oh, I'm sorry, I haven't any change.
I can give you change, Captain.
For a sovereign, I've nothing left.
God. Oh, do buy a flower off me, Captain. I can change half a crown. Take this for tuppence.
Now, don't be troublesome. There's a good girl. I really... Here's 3 halfpence if that's any use to you.
Thank you, sir.
You be careful. Give him a flower for it. There's a bloke here behind you, taking down every blessed word you're saying.
I ain't done nothing wrong speaking to the gentleman. I've a right to sell flowers if I keep off the curb. I'm a respectable girl, so help me. I never spoke to him except to ask him to buy a flower off me.
What's all this?
So don't let him charge me. You do know what it means to me. Now take away my character and drive me on the streets and speaking to a gentleman.
Silly girl. Who's hurting you?
It's all right. He's a gentleman. Look at his boots. She thought it was a copper's knock, sir.
What's a copper's knock?
It's a copper's knock, as you might say. What else will you call it? A sort of informer.
I take my Bible. I never said a word.
Shut up. Do I look like a policeman?
Then what you take down my words for? How do I know whether you took me down right? You show me what you wrote about me. What's that? I ain't proper writing. Can't read that.
I can. Cheer up, Captain, and buy a flower off a poor girl.
It's 'cause I called him Captain. Oh, I meant no harm. Oh, sir, don't let him lay a charge against me for a word like that.
Charge! I'm making no charge. Really, sir, if you are a detective, you need not begin protecting me against molestation by young women until I ask you. Anyone could see that the girl meant no harm.
He ain't a tech, he's a bloomin' busybody, that's what he is. I tell you, look at his boots.
And how are all your people down at Chelsea?
Who tell you my people come from Chelsea?
Never you mind, they did. How did you come to be so far up east? You were born in Listen Grove.
What harm is there in me leaving Listen Grove? It wasn't fit for a pig to live in, and I had to pay 4 and 6 a week.
Live where you like. Stop that noise.
Come, he can't touch you. You have a right to live where you please.
I'm a good girl, I am.
Do you know where I come from?
Hoxton.
Well, who said I didn't? Blimey, you know everything I do.
Ain't no call to meddle with me, you ain't.
Of course he ain't. Don't you stand it from him. See here, what call have you know about people what never offered to meddle with you? Where's your warrant?
Yeah, where's your warrant?
Let him say what he likes. I won't have no truck with him.
You take us for dirt under your feet, don't you? Catch you taking liberties with a gentleman.
Yeah, tell him where he come from if you want to go fortune telling.
Cheltenham, Harrow, Cambridge, and, India.
Quite right. May I ask you, sir, do you do this for your living at a music hall?
I've thought of that. Perhaps I shall, someday.
He's no gentleman, he ain't. Interfere with a poor girl.
What on earth is Freddie doing? She'll get pneumonia if I stay in this draft any longer.
Hell's Court.
Will you please keep your impertinent remarks to yourself?
Did I say that out loud? I didn't mean to. I beg your pardon. Your mother's Epsom, unmistakably.
How very curious. I was brought up in Large Lady Park, near Epsom.
What a devil of a name! Excuse me. You want a cab, do you?
Don't you dare speak to me.
Oh, please, Clara. We should be so grateful to you, sir, if you found us a cab. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I know he was a plainclothes copper.
That ain't a police whistle at the sporting whistle.
He's no right to take away my character. My character is the same to me as any lady's.
I don't know whether you've noticed it, but the rain stopped about 2 minutes ago.
Oh, thought as. Well, why didn't you say so before? And us losing our time listening to your silliness.
I can tell where you come from. You come from Anwell Asylum. Go back here.
Hanwell.
Thank you, teacher. So long.
Frightening people like that. How would he like it himself?
It's quite fine now, Clara. We can walk to a motor bus. Come.
But the cab! Oh, how tiresome!
Poor girl. Hard enough for her to live without being worried and chivied.
How do you do it, if I may ask?
Simply phonetics, the science of speech. That's my profession, also my hobby. Happy is the man who can make a living by his hobby. You can spot an Irishman or a Yorkshireman by his brogue. I can place any man within 6 miles. I can place him within 2 miles in London, sometimes within 2 streets.
Ought to be ashamed of himself, unmanly coward.
But is there a living in that?
Oh, yes, quite a fat one. This is an age of upstarts. Men begin in Kentish Town with £80 a year and end in Park Lane with 100,000. They want to drop Kentish Town, but they give themselves away every time they open their mouths. Now, I can teach them.
Let him mind his own business and leave a poor girl alone.
Cease this detestable boo-hooing instantly, or else seek the shelter of some other place of worship.
I've a right to be here if I like. Same as you.
A woman who utters such depressing and disgusting sounds has no right to be anywhere, no right to live. Remember that you are a human being with the soul and the divine gift of articulate speech, that your native language is the language of Shakespeare and Milton, and don't sit there crooning like a bilious pigeon.
Ow!
Heavens, what a sound. Ow!
Gone.
You see this creature with her curbstone English, the English that will keep her in the gutter to the end of her days. Well, sir, in 3 months I could pass that girl off as a duchess at an ambassador's garden party. I could even get her a place as a lady's maid or a shop assistant, which requires better English. That's the sort of work I do for commercial millionaires. And on the profits of it, I do genuine scientific work in phonetics and a little as a poet on Miltonic lines.
I am myself a student of Indian dialects, and
Are you? Do you know Colonel Pickering, the author of Spoken Sanskrit?
I am Colonel Pickering. Who are you?
Henry Higgins, author of Higgins' Universal Alphabet.
I came from India to meet you.
I was going to India to meet you.
Where do you live?
Up 27A Wimpole Street. Come and see me tomorrow.
I'm at the Carlton. Come with me now. Let's have a jaw over some supper, eh?
Right you are.
Buy a flower, kind gentleman. I'm short for me lodging.
Liar. You said you could change half a crown.
You ought to be stuffed with nails, you ought. Take the whole blooming basket for 6p.
A reminder. Spoken Sanskrit. Would you say?
Oh, woo! Oh, woo!
Got one at last. Hello? Where are the 2 ladies that were just here?
They walked to the bus when the rain stopped.
And left me with a cab on my hands. Damnation.
Now you mind, young man. I'm going home in a taxi. 8p ain't no object to me. Jolly. Angel Court, Drury Lane, round the corner, Mickle John's oil shop. Let's see how fast you can make her up it.
Well, I'm dashed. It is now 11 a.m., and we are in Higgins' laboratory in Wimpole Street. It is scattered with all sorts of instruments used for his phonetic studies, including tuning forks, a poster of the human head featuring life-size images of vocal organs, and a phonograph to record sound. Higgins is having Pickering listen to, well, this.
Tired of listening to sounds?
Yes, it's a fearful strain. I rather fancy myself because I can pronounce 24 distinct vowel sounds, but your 130 beat me. Can't hear a bit of difference between most of them.
That comes with practice. You hear no difference at first, but you keep on listening, and presently you find they're all as different as A from B. What's the matter, Mrs. Pierce?
A young woman wants to see you, sir.
A young woman? What does she want?
Oh, well, sir, she says you'd be glad to see her when you know what she's come about. She's quite a common girl, sir. Very common indeed. I should have sent her away, only I thought perhaps you wanted her to talk into your machines. I hope I've not done wrong, but really, you see such queer people sometimes. You excuse me, I'm sure, sir.
Oh, that's all right, Mrs. Pierce. Has she an interesting accent?
Oh, something dreadful, really, sir. I don't know how you can't take an interest in it.
Let's have her up. Show her up, Mrs. Pierce.
Very well, sir. It's for you to say.
This is rather a bit of luck. I'll show you how I make records. We'll set her talking, and I'll take it down first in Bell's visible speech, then in broad Romic, and then we'll get her on the phonograph so that you can turn her on as often as you like with the written transcript before you.
This is the young woman, sir.
What? This is the girl I jotted down last night. She's no use. I've got all the records I want of the Listen Grove lingo, and I'm not going to waste another cylinder on it. Be off with you. I don't want you.
Don't you be so saucy. You ain't heard what I come for yet. Did you tell him I'll come in a taxi?
Nonsense, girl. What do you think a gentleman like Mr. Higgins cares what you came in?
Oh, we are proud. He ain't above giving lessons, not him. I heard him say so. Well, I ain't come here to ask for any compliment, and if my money's not good enough, I can go elsewhere.
Good enough for what?
Good enough for you. Now you know, don't ya? I'll come to our lessons, I am. And to pay for 'em too, make no mistake.
Well, what do you expect me to say to you?
Well, if you was a gentleman, you might ask me to come in, I think. Don't I tell you I'm bringing you business?
Pickering, shall we ask this baggage to come in, or shall we throw her out the window?
Woo! I won't be called a baggage when I've offered to pay like any lady.
What is it you want, young lady?
I want to be a lady in a flower shop instead of selling at the corner of Tottenham Court Road. But they won't take me unless I can talk more genteel. He said he could teach me. Well, here I am, ready to pay him, not asking any favour, and he treats me as if I were dirt.
Oh, how can you be such a foolish, ignorant girl as to think you could afford to pay Mr. Higgins?
Why shouldn't I? I know what lessons cost as well as you do, and I'm ready to pay.
How much?
Now you're talking. I thought you'd come off it when you saw a chance of getting back a bit of what you chucked at me last night.
Come here, over here.
Well, if you're going to make a compliment of it.
Come in.
Come, girl, do as you're told.
Won't you come in?
Don't mind if I do.
What's your name?
Liza Doolittle.
Eliza, Elizabeth, Betsy, and Bess. They went to the woods to get a bird's nest.
They found a nest with 4 eggs in it.
They took one apiece and left 3 in it.
Don't be silly.
You mustn't speak to the gentleman like that.
Well, why won't he speak sensible to me?
Come back to business. How much do you propose to pay me for the lessons?
Oh, I know what's right. A lady friend of mine gets French lessons for 18 pence an hour from a real French gentleman. Well, you wouldn't have the face to ask me the same for teaching me my own language as you would for French, so I won't give more than a shilling. Take it or leave it.
You know, Pickering, if you consider a shilling not as a simple shilling, but as a percentage of this girl's income, it works out as fully equivalent to 60 or 70 guineas from a millionaire. She earns about half a crown.
Hey, who told you I only,
He offers me 2/5 of her day's income for a lesson. 2/5 of a millionaire's income for a day would be somewhere about £60. It's handsome. By George, it's enormous. It's the largest offer I ever had.
£60? What are you talking about? I never offered you £60. Where would I even get it?
Your tongue.
But I ain't got £60.
Oh, don't cry, you silly girl. Calm down. Nobody's going to touch your money.
Somebody is going to touch you with a broomstick if you don't stop sniveling. Be calm.
Oh, whoa! One would think you was my father.
If I decide to teach you, I'll be worse than 2 fathers to you. Yeah.
What's this for?
To wipe your eyes. To wipe any part of your face that feels moist. Remember, that's your handkerchief, and that's your sleeve. Don't mistake the one for the other if you wish to become a lady in a shop.
It's no use talking to her like that, Mr. Higgins. She doesn't understand you. Besides, you're quite wrong. She doesn't do it that way at all.
Yeah, you give me back that handkerchief. Hey, give it to me, not to you.
He did. I think it must be regarded as her property, Mrs. Pierce.
Serve you right, Mr. Higgins.
Higgins, I'm interested. What about the ambassador's garden party? I say you're the greatest teacher alive if you could make that good. I'll bet all the expense of the experiment, you can't do it. And I'll pay for the lessons.
Oh, you are real good. Thank you, Captain.
It's almost irresistible. She's so deliciously low, so horribly dirty.
Oh, whoa! I ain't dirty. I washed my face and hands before I come, I did.
So they're not going to turn her head with flattery, Higgins.
Oh, don't say that, sir. There's more ways than one of turning a girl's head, and nobody can do it better than Mr. Higgins, though he may not always mean it. I do hope, sir, you won't encourage him to do anything foolish.
What is life but a series of inspired follies? The difficulty is to find them to do. Never lose a chance. Doesn't come every day. I shall make a duchess of this draggle-tailed gutter snipe.
Ow!
Yes, in 6 months, in 3, if she has a good ear and a quick tongue, I'll take her anywhere and pass her off as anything. We'll start today. Now, this moment. Take her away and clean her, Mrs. Pierce. Monkey brand if it won't come off any other way. Is there a good fire in the kitchen?
Yes, but I
Pull
don't
her clothes off and burn them. Ring up Whiteley or somebody for some new ones. Wrap her up in brown paper till they come.
You're no gentleman, you're not, to talk of such things. I'm a good girl, I am, and I know what the likes of you are, I do.
We want none of your Listen Grove prudery here, young woman. You've got to learn to behave like a duchess. Take her away, Mrs. Pierce, and if she gives you any trouble, wallop her.
No, I'll call the police, I will.
but I've no place to put her.
Put her in the dustbin.
Woo!
Oh, come, Higgins, be reasonable.
You must be reasonable, Mr. Higgins, really, you must. You can't walk over everybody like this.
Walk over everybody. My dear Mrs. Pierce, my dear Pickering, I never had the slightest intention of walking over anybody. All I propose is that we should be kind to this poor girl. We must help her to prepare and fit herself for her new station in life. If I did not express myself clearly, it was because I did not wish to hurt her delicacy, or yours. What's the matter?
Well, the matter is, sir, that you can't take a girl up like that as if you were picking up a pebble on the beach.
Why not?
Why not? But you don't know anything about her. What about her parents? She may be married.
God!
There, as the girl very properly says, God!
Who'd marry me?
By George, Eliza, the streets will be strewn with the bodies of men shooting themselves for your sake after I've done with you.
Oh, nonsense, sir. You mustn't talk to her like that.
Go away. He's off his chump, he is. I don't want no balmies teaching me.
Oh, indeed. I'm mad, am I? Very well, Mrs. Pierce. You needn't order the new clothes for her. Throw her out.
Ow! You got no right to touch me.
You see now what comes of being saucy? This way, please.
I didn't want no clothes. I wouldn't have taken them. I can buy me own clothes.
You're an ungrateful, wicked girl. This is my return for offering to take you out of the gutter and dress you beautifully and make a lady of you?
Stop, Mr. Higgins. I won't allow it. It's you that are wicked. Go home to your parents, girl, and tell them to take better care of you.
I ain't got no parents. They told me I was big enough to earn me a living and turn me out.
Where's your mother?
I ain't got no mother. That turned me out was me sick stepmother. But I done without 'em. And I'm a good girl, I am.
Very well. What on earth is all this fuss about? The girl doesn't belong to anybody, is no use to anybody but me. You can adopt her, Mrs. Pierce. I'm sure a daughter would be a great amusement to you. Now, don't make any more fuss. Take her downstairs and...
What's to become of her? Is she to be paid anything? Do be sensible, sir.
Pay her whatever is necessary. Put her down in the housekeeping book. What on earth will she want with money? She'll have her food and her clothes. She'll only drink if you give her money.
Oh, you are a brute. It's a lie. Nobody ever saw the sign of liquor on me.
Does it occur to you, Higgins, that the girl has some feelings?
No, I don't think so. Not any feelings that we need bother about. Have you, Eliza?
I got my feelings same as anyone else.
You see the difficulty.
What difficulty?
To get her to talk grammar. The mere pronunciation is easy enough.
I don't want to talk grammar. I want to talk like a lady.
Will you please keep to the point, Mr. Higgins? I want to know on what terms the girl is to be here. Is she to have any wages? And what is to become of her when you finish your teaching? You must look ahead a little.
What's to become of her if I leave her in the gutter? Tell me that, Mrs. Pierce.
That's her own business, not yours, Mr. Higgins.
When I've done with her, we can throw her back into the gutter, and then it will be her own business again, so that's all right.
Oh, you've no feeling art in you. You don't care nothing for nobody but yourself. Here, I've had enough of this. I'm going. You ought to be ashamed of yourself, you ought.
Chocolates, Eliza.
How do I know what might be in 'em? I've heard of girls being drugged by the like of you.
Pledge of good faith, Eliza. I eat one half, you eat the other.
Are you sure it ain't? Ooh. I wouldn't eat it. Only I'm too ladylike to take it out me mouth.
Listen, Eliza, I think you said you came in a taxi.
Well, what if I did? I've as good a right to take a taxi as anyone else.
You have, Eliza. And in future you shall have as many taxis as you want. You shall go up and down and round the town in a taxi every day. Think of that, Eliza.
Mr. Higgins, you're tempting the girl. It's not right. She should think of the future.
Nonsense. Time enough to think of the future when you haven't any future to think of. No, Eliza. Do as this lady does. Think of other people's futures, but never your own. Think of chocolates and taxis and gold and diamonds.
No, I don't want no gold or no diamonds. I'm a good girl, I am.
You shall remain so, Eliza, under the care of Mrs. Pierce, and you shall marry an officer in the Guards with a beautiful moustache, the son of a marquis, who will disinherit him for marrying you, but will relent when he sees your beauty and...
Excuse me, Higgins, I must really interfere. Mrs. Pierce is quite right. If this girl is to put herself in your hands for 6 months for an experiment in teaching, she must thoroughly understand what she's doing.
How can she? She's incapable of understanding anything. Besides, do any of us really understand what we are doing? If we did, would we ever do it?
Very clever, Higgins, but do sound sense. Miss Doolittle?
Oh, woo!
That's all you'll get out of Eliza. Oh! No use explaining. As a military man, you ought to know that. Give her orders. That's what she wants. Eliza, you are to live here for the next 6 months, learning how to speak beautifully like a lady in a florist shop. If you're good and do whatever you're told, you shall sleep in a proper bedroom and have lots to eat and money to buy chocolates and take rides and taxis. If you're naughty and idle, you will sleep in the back kitchen among the black beetles and be walloped by Mrs. Pierce with a broomstick. At the end of 6 months, you shall go to Buckingham Palace in a carriage, beautifully dressed. If the king finds out you're not a lady, you will be taken by the police to the Tower of London, where your head will be cut off as a warning to other presumptuous flower girls. If you are not found out, you shall have a present of 7 and 6pence to start a life with as a lady in a shop. If you refuse this offer, you will be a most ungrateful and wicked girl, and the angels will weep for you. Now, are you satisfied, Pickering? Can I make it more plainly and fairly, Mrs. Pierce?
I think you'd better let me speak to the girl properly in private. I don't know that I can take charge of her or consent to the arrangement of it all. Of course, I know you don't mean her any harm, but when you get what you call interested in people's accents, you never think or care what may happen to them or you. Come with me, Eliza.
That's all right. Thank you, Mrs. Pierce. I've bundled her off to the bathroom.
You're a great bully, you are. I won't stay here if I don't like. I won't let nobody wallop me. I never asked to go to Buckingham Palace. I didn't. I was never in trouble with the police. Not me. I'm a good girl.
Don't answer back, girl. You don't understand the gentleman. Come with me.
What I say is right. I won't go near the king. Not if I'm going to have me head cut off. If I knew what I was letting myself in for, I wouldn't have come here. I've always been a good girl, and I never offered to say a word to him. I don't owe him nothing, and I don't care, and I won't be put upon, and I have my feelings, the same as anyone else.
Excuse the straight question, Higgins. Are you a man of good character where women are concerned?
Have you ever met a man of good character where women are concerned?
Yes, very frequently.
I haven't. I find that the moment I let a woman make friends with me, she becomes jealous, exacting, suspicious, and a damned nuisance. I find that the moment I let myself make friends with a woman, I become selfish and tyrannical. Women upset everything. So, here I am, a confirmed old bachelor and likely to remain so.
Come, Higgins, you know what I mean. If I'm be in this business, I shall feel responsible for that girl. I hope it's understood that no advantage is to be taken of her position.
What? That thing? Sacred, I assure you. You see, she'll be a pupil, and teaching would be impossible unless pupils were sacred. I've taught scores of American millionairesses how to speak English, the best-looking women in the world. I'm seasoned. They might as well be blocks of wood. I might as well be a block of wood. It's all very... Well, Mrs. Pierce, is it all right?
I just wish to trouble you with a word, if I may, Mr. Higgins.
Yep, certainly. Come in. Don't burn the hat, Mrs. Pierce. I'll keep it as a curiosity.
Well, handle it carefully, sir, please. I had to promise her not to burn it, but I had better put it in the oven for a while.
Oh, thank you. Well, what else have you to say to me?
Oh, am I in the way?
Oh, not at all, sir.
Hmm.
Mr. Higgins, will you please be very particular what you say before the girl?
Of course, I'm always particular about what I say. Why do you say this to me?
No, sir. You're not at all particular when you've mislaid anything or when you get a little impatient. Now, it doesn't matter before me. I'm used to it. But you really must not swear before the girl.
I swear? I never swear. I detest the habit.
Oh.
What the devil do you mean?
That's what I mean, sir. You swear a great deal too much. I don't mind your damning and blasting and what the devil and where the devil and who the devil and all.
Really, Mrs. Pierce, this language from your lips.
But there is a certain word I must ask you not to use. The girl has just used it herself because the bath was too hot. It begins with the same letter as bath. She knows no better. She learnt it at her mother's knee, but she must not hear it from your lips.
I cannot charge myself with having ever uttered it, Mrs. Pierce, except perhaps in a moment of extreme and justifiable excitement.
Oh, well, only this morning, sir, you applied it to your boots and to the butter and to the brown bread.
That mere alliteration, Mrs. Pierce, natural to a poet.
Oh, well, sir, well, whatever you choose to call it. I beg you not to let the girl hear you repeat it.
Very well, very well. Is that all?
No, sir. We shall have to be very particular with this girl as to personal cleanliness.
Certainly, quite right, most important.
I mean, not to be slovenly about her dress or untidy and leaving things about.
Just so. I intended to call your attention to that. It is these little things that matter, Pickering. Take care of the pence and the pounds will take care of themselves is as true of personal habits as of money.
Yes, sir. Then, might I ask you not to come down to breakfast in your dressing gown? Or at any rate, not to use it as a napkin to the extent you do, sir. And if you would be so good as to not eat everything off the same plate, and to remember not to put the porridge saucepan out of your hand on the clean tablecloth, it would be a better example to the girl. You know you nearly choked to death yourself with a fishbone in the jam only last week.
I may do these things sometimes out of absence of mind, but I surely don't do them habitually. By the way, my dressing gown smells most damnably of benzene.
Oh, well, no doubt it does, Mr. Higgins. But if you will wipe your fingers on your napkin.
Very well. I'll wipe them in my hair in the future.
I hope you're not offended, Mr. Higgins.
Not at all. Not at all. You're quite right, Mrs. Pierce. I shall be particularly careful before the girl. Is that all?
No, sir. Might she use some of those dresses you brought from abroad? I really can't put her back in her old things.
Certainly. Anything you like. Is that all?
Thank you, sir. That's all.
You know, Pickering, that woman has the most extraordinary ideas about me. Here I am, a shy, diffident sort of man. I've never really been able to feel grown up and tremendous like other chaps. Yet she's firmly persuaded I'm an arbitrary, overbearing, bossing kind of person. I can't account for it.
If you please, sir. The trouble's beginning already. There's a dustman downstairs. Alfred Doolittle wants to see you. He says you have his daughter here.
I say.
Send the blackguard up.
Very well, sir.
He may not be a blackguard, Higgins.
Nonsense, of course he's a blackguard.
Whether is he not, I'm assured we shall soon have some trouble with him.
No, I think not. If there's any trouble, he shall have it with me, not I with him. And we are sure to get something interesting out of him.
About the girl?
No, I mean his dialect.
Oh, yes.
Doolittle, sir?
Mr. Higgins?
Yeah, good morning, come in.
Morning, Governor. Well, I come about a very serious matter, Governor.
Brought up in Hounslow, Mother Welsh, I should think. What do you want, Doolittle?
I want my daughter. That's what I want, see?
Of course you do. You're her father, aren't you? You don't suppose anyone else wants her, do you? I'm glad to see you have some spark of family feeling left. She's upstairs. Take her away at once.
What?
Take her away. Do you suppose I'm going to keep your daughter for you?
Now, look here, Governor. Is this reasonable? Is it fair to take advantage of a man like this? The girl belongs to me. You got her. Where do I come in?
Your daughter had the audacity to come to my house and ask me to teach her how to speak properly so that she could get a place in a flower shop. How dare you come here and attempt to blackmail me? You sent her here on purpose.
No, Governor.
You must have. How else could you possibly know that she is here?
No, don't take a man up like that, Governor.
The police shall take you up. This is a plot to extort money by threats. I shall telephone for the police.
Have I asked you for a brass farthing? I'll put it to the gentleman here. Have I said a word about money?
What else did you come for?
Well, what would a man come for? Be human, Governor.
Alfred, did you put her up to it?
So help me, Governor, I never did. I take me Bible oath, I ain't seen the girl these 2 months past.
Then how did you know she was here?
I'll tell you, Governor, if you'll only let me get a word in. I'm willing to tell you. I'm wanting to tell you. I'm waiting to tell you.
Pickering, this chap has a certain natural gift of rhetoric. Observe the rhythm of his native wood notes wild. I'm willing to tell you, I'm wanting to tell you, I'm waiting to tell you. Sentimental rhetoric. That's the Welsh strain in him. It also accounts for his mendacity and dishonesty.
Oh, please, Higgins. I'm West Country myself. How do you know the girl was here if you didn't send for her?
It was like this, Governor. A girl took a boy in a taxi to give him a jaunt. Son of her landlady, he is. And he hung about on the chance of her giving him another ride home when she sent him back for her luggage when she heard you was willing for her to stop here. When I met the boy at the corner of Longacre and Endell Street...
Public house, yes.
The poor man's club, Governor. Why shouldn't I?
Let him tell his story, Higgins.
Well, he told me what was up. And I ask you, what was my feelings and my duty as a father? I says to the boy, you bring me the luggage, I says.
Why didn't you go for it yourself?
Landlady wouldn't have trusted me with it, Governor. She's that kind of woman, you know. I had to give the boy a penny afore he trusted me with it. Little swine. Now, I brought it to her just to oblige you like. Make myself agreeable. That's all.
How much luggage?
A musical instrument, Governor, a few pictures, trifle of jewellery, and a bird cage. She told me she didn't want no clothes. Now, I ask you, what was I to think of that, Governor? I ask you as a parent, what was I to think?
So, you came to rescue her from worse than death, eh?
Just so, Governor, that's right.
But why did you bring her luggage if you intended to take her away?
Have I said a word about taking her away? Have I now?
You're going to take her away double quick.
No, Governor, don't say that. I'm not a man to stand in my girl's light. Here's a career opening for her, as you might say. And
Mrs. Pierce, this is Eliza's father. He has come to take her away. Give her to him.
No, this is a misunderstanding. Listen here.
He can't take her away, Mr. Higgins. How can he? You told me to burn her clothes.
Oh, that's right. I can't carry the girl through the streets like a blooming monkey, can I? I'll put it to you.
You have put it to me that you want your daughter. Take your daughter. If she has no clothes, go out and buy her some.
Oh, well, where's the clothes she came in? Did I burn them? Or did your missus here?
I am the housekeeper, if you please. I have sent for some clothes for your girl. When they come, you can take her away. You can wait in the kitchen. This way, please.
Listen here, Governor. You and me, we're men of the world, ain't we?
Oh, men of the world, are we? You'd better go, Mrs. Pierce.
Oh, I think so indeed, sir.
The floor is yours, Mr. Doolittle.
Oh, thank you, Governor. Well, truth is, I've taken a sort of fancy to you, Governor. And if you want the girl, I'm not to set on having her back home again. But what I might be open to is an arrangement. Regarded in the light of a young woman, she's a fine, handsome girl. But as a daughter, she's not worth her keep. And so, I tell you straight, all I ask is my rights as a father. You're the last man alive to expect me to let her go for nothing. For I can see you're one of the straight sort, Governor. Well, what's a £5 note to you, and what's Eliza to me?
I think you ought to know, Doolittle, that Mr. Higgins' intentions are entirely honourable.
Of course they are, Governor. If I thought there wasn't, I'd ask you 50.
Do you mean to say, you callous rascal, that you would sell your daughter for £50?
Not in a general way I wouldn't, but to oblige a gentleman like yourself, I would do a good deal, I do assure you.
Have you no morals, man?
Can't afford them, Governor. And neither could you if you was as poor as me. And not that I mean any harm, you know. But if Eliza is going to have a bit out of this, well, why not me too?
I don't know what to do, Pickering. There can be no question that, as a matter of morals, it's a positive crime to give this chap a farthing. And yet, I feel a sort of rough justice to his claim.
That's it, Governor. That's all I say. Fathers are, as it were.
I know the feeling, but it really seems hardly right.
Well, I don't say that, Governor. Don't look at it that way. What am I? Governors both. I ask you, what am I? I'm one of the undeserving poor. Now think of what that means to a man. It means he's up against middle-class morality all the time. If there's anything going, and I put in for a bit of it, it's always the same story. You're undeserving, so you can't have it. But my needs is as great as the most deserving widow's ever got money out of 6 different charities in 1 week for the death of the same husband. I don't need less than a deserving man. I need more. I don't eat less hearty than him, and I drink a lot more. I want a bit of amusement, because I'm a thinking man. I want cheerfulness and a song and a band when I feel low. Well, they charge me just the same as they charge a deserving for everything. What is middle-class morality? Just an excuse for never giving me anything. Therefore, I ask you, as 2 gentlemen, not to play that game at me. I'm playing straight with you. I ain't pretending to be deserving. I'm undeserving. And I mean to go on being undeserving. I like it. And that's the truth. Will you take advantage of a man's nature? Do him out of the price of his own daughter? What he's brought up and fed and clothed by the sweat of his brow until she's grown big enough to be interesting to you 2 gentlemen? Is £5 unreasonable? I'll put it to you, and I'll leave it to you.
Pickering, if we were to take this man in hand for 3 months, he could choose between a seat in the cabinet and a popular pulpit in Wales.
What do you say to that, Doolittle?
Not me, Governor. Thank you kindly. I've heard all the preachers and all the prime ministers, for I'm a thinking man. Game for politics and religion, social reform, same as all the other amusements. And I'll tell you, it's a dog's life anyway you look at it. Now, undeserving poverty is my line. Taking one station in society with another, it's the only one that's got any ginger in it in my taste.
I suppose we must give him a £5.
Make bad use of it, I'm afraid.
No me, Governor, so help me I won't. Don't you be afraid I'll save it and spare it and live idle on it. There won't be a penny of it left by Monday. I'll have to go to work, same as if I'd never had it. It won't pauperise me, you bet. Just one good spree for myself and the missus, giving pleasure to ourselves, employment to others, And satisfaction to you, to think it's not been thrown away. You couldn't spend it better.
This is irresistible. Let's give him 10.
No, Governor. She wouldn't have the heart to spend 10. And perhaps I shouldn't either. £10 is a lot of money. Makes a man feel prudent, like. And then, goodbye to happiness. You give me what I ask for, Governor. Not a penny more, not a penny less.
Why don't you marry that missus of yours?
Oh, tell her so, Governor. Tell her so. I'm willing. It's me what suffers by it. I've no hold on her. I got to be agreeable to her. I got to buy her clothes, give her presents, something sinful. I'm in service of that woman, Governor. Just because I'm not a lawful husband. And she knows it too. Catch her marrying me. Take my advice, Governor. Marry Eliza while she's young and don't know no better. If you don't, you'll be sorry for it after. If you do, she'll be sorry for it after, but better you than her. Because you're a man, and she's only a woman, and don't know how to be happy anyhow.
Pickering, if we listen to this man another moment, we shall have no convictions left. £5, I think you said.
Thank you kindly, Governor.
You're sure you won't take 10?
No, not now. Another time, Governor.
Here you are.
Thank you, Governor. Good morning. Beg pardon, miss.
Gan, don't you know your own daughter?
Blimey! It's Eliza!
By Jove.
Don't I look silly?
Now, Mr. Higgins, please don't say anything to make the girl conceited about herself.
No, you're quite right, Mrs. Pierce. Yes, damned silly.
Please, sir.
I mean extremely silly.
I should look all right with me hat on.
A new fashion, by George. And it ought to look horrible.
Oh, well, I never thought she'd clean up good looking as that, Governor. She's a credit to me, ain't she?
I tell you, it's easy to clean up here. Hot and cold water on tap, just as much as you like. There's woolly towels, there's. And a towel so hot it burns your fingers. Soft brushes to scrub yourself, and a wooden bowl of soap smelling like primroses. Now I know why ladies are so clean. Washing's a treat for them. Wish they saw what it's like for the likes of me.
I'm glad the bathroom met with your approval.
It didn't. Not all of it. And I don't care who hears me say it. Mrs. Pierce knows.
What was wrong, Mrs. Pierce?
Nothing, sir. It doesn't matter.
I had a good mind to break it. I didn't know which way to look. But I hung a towel over it, so I did.
Over what?
Over the looking glass, sir.
Doolittle, you have brought your daughter up too strictly.
Me? I never brought her up at all, except to give her a lick of a strap now and again. Don't put it on me, Governor. She ain't accustomed to it, is all. You'll see. She'll soon pick up your free and easy ways.
I'm a good girl, I am, and I won't pick up no free and easy ways.
Eliza, if you say again that you're a good girl, your father shall take you home.
I am. You don't know my father. All he come for was to touch you for some money to get drunk on.
What else would I want money for? Putting the plate at church, I suppose. Don't give me none of your lip. And don't let me hear you giving this gentleman any of it either. You'll hear from me about it, see?
Have you any further advice to give her before you go, Doolittle? Your blessing, for instance.
No, Governor. I ain't such a mug as to put up my children to all I know myself. Hard enough to hold them in without that. If you want Liza's mind improved, you do it yourself. With a strap. So long, gentlemen.
Stop. You'll come regularly to see your daughter? It's your duty, you know. My brother is a clergyman, and he could help you in your talks with her.
Well, certainly I'll come, Governor. Not just this week, because I've got a job at a distance, but later on you may depend on me. Afternoon, gentlemen. Afternoon, ma'am.
Don't you believe the old liar? He'd as soon as you set a bulldog on him as a clergyman. You won't see him again in a hurry.
I don't want to, Eliza. Do you?
Not me. I don't want near to see him again, I don't. He's a disgrace to me, he is, collecting dust instead of working at his trade.
What is his trade, Eliza?
Talking money out of other people's pockets into his own. His proper trade's a navvy. And he works at it sometimes too, for exercise, and earns good money at it. Ain't you gonna call me Miss Doolittle anymore?
Oh, I beg your pardon, Miss Doolittle. It was a slip of the tongue.
Oh, I don't mind. Only it sounded so genteel. I should just like to take a taxi to the corner of Tottenham Court Road and get out there and tell it to wait for me, just to put the others there in their place a bit. I wouldn't speak to them, you know.
Better wait till you get something really fashionable.
Besides, you shouldn't cut out your old friends now that you've risen in the world. That's what we call snobbery.
You don't call the like of them my friends now, I should hope. They took it out of me often enough with their ridicule when they had the chance, and now I mean to get a bit me own back. But if I'm to have more fashionable clothes, I'll wait. I should like to have some. Mrs. Pierce says you're going to give me some to wear in bed at night, different to what I wear in the daytime. But it do seem a waste of money when you could get something to show. Besides, I never could fancy changing into cold things on a winter's night.
Now, Eliza, the new things have come for you to try on.
Oh!
Don't rush about like that.
We now find ourselves in an utterly contrasting setting. No clutter or odd instruments to be found. We are in Mrs. Higgins' home. Mrs. Higgins being Henry Higgins' mother. In any case, it is between 4 and 5 in the afternoon. You know, sometime around then, just in case that you were curious.
Mother! Are you in there, Mother?
Henry, what are you doing here today? It is my at-home day. You promised not to come.
Oh, bother.
Go home at once.
I know, Mother, I came on purpose.
But you mustn't. I'm serious, Henry. You offend all my friends. They stop coming whenever they meet you.
Nonsense. I know I have no small talk, but people don't mind.
Oh, don't they? Small talk indeed. But what about your large talk? Really, dear, you mustn't stay.
I must. I have a job for you, a phonetic job.
No use, dear. I'm sorry, but I can't get round your vowels. And though I like to get pretty postcards in your patent shorthand, I always have to read the copies in ordinary writing you so thoughtfully sent me.
Well, this isn't a phonetic job.
You said it was.
Not your part of it. Anyhow, Mother, I've picked up a girl.
That mean that some girl has picked you up?
Not at all. I don't mean a love affair.
What a pity.
Why?
Well, you never fall in love with anyone under 45. When will you discover there are some rather nice-looking young women about?
I can't be bothered with young women. My idea of a lovable woman is something as like you as possible. I shall never get into the way of seriously liking young women. Some habits lie too deep to be changed. Besides, they're all idiots.
Do you know what you would do if you really loved me, Henry?
Bother, what? Marry, I suppose?
No, you'd stop fidgeting and uncross your arms. There's a good boy. Now, tell me about the girl.
She's coming to see you.
I don't remember asking her.
You didn't. I asked her. If you'd known her, you wouldn't have asked her.
Indeed. Why?
Well, it's like this. She's a common flower girl. I picked her up off the curbstone.
And invited her to my at-home.
Oh, that'll be all right. I've taught her to speak properly, and she has strict orders as to her behaviour. She's to keep to 2 subjects, the weather and everybody's health. Fine day and how do you do, you know, and not to let herself go on things in general. And that will be safe.
To talk about our health, about our insides, perhaps about our outsides. How could you be so silly, Henry?
Well, she must talk about something. Oh, she'll be all right. Don't you fuss. Pickering is in it with me. I've a sort of bet on it that I'll pass her off as a duchess in 6 months. I started on her some months ago, and she's getting on like a house on fire. I shall win my bet. She has a quick ear, and she's been easier to teach than my middle-class pupils because she's had to learn a whole new language. She talks English almost as you talk French.
Well, that is satisfactory, I suppose.
Well, it is and it isn't.
What does that mean?
You see, I've got her pronunciation all right, but you have to consider not only how a girl pronounces, but what she pronounces, and that's where...
Mrs. and Miss Eynsford Hill.
Oh, Lord.
How do you do, Mrs. Higgins?
How do you do?
My son, Henry.
Your celebrated son. I have so longed to meet you, Professor Higgins.
Delighted.
How do you do?
I've seen you before somewhere. I haven't a ghost of a notion where, but I've heard your voice. It doesn't matter. You'd better come in.
I'm sorry to say that my celebrated son has no manners. You mustn't mind him.
Oh, if I've been rude, I didn't mean to be.
Colonel Pickering.
How do you do, Mrs. Higgins?
So glad you've come. Do you know Mrs. Eynsford Hill? Miss Eynsford Hill?
Has Henry told you what we've come for?
We were interrupted, damn it.
Oh, Henry! Henry, really?
Are we in the way?
No. You couldn't have come more fortunately. We want you to meet a friend of ours.
Yes, by George. We want 2 or 3 people. You'll do as well as anybody else.
Mr. Eynsford Hill.
Oh, God in heaven, another of them.
How do you do?
Very good of you to come. Colonel Pickering.
How do you do?
I don't think you know my son, Professor Higgins.
How do you do?
I'll take my oath I've met you before somewhere. Where was it?
I don't think so.
It don't matter anyhow. Come in. Well, here we are anyhow, and now, what the devil are we going to talk about until Eliza comes?
Henry, you are the life and soul of the Royal Society soirees, but really you're rather trying on more commonplace occasions.
Am I? Very sorry, I suppose I am, you know.
I sympathize. I haven't any small talk. If only people would be frank and say what they really think.
Lord forbid.
But why?
What they think they ought to think is bad enough, Lord knows, but what they really think would break up the whole show. Do you suppose it would really be agreeable if I were to come out now with what I really think?
Oh, is this so very cynical?
Cynical? Who the dickens said it was cynical? I meant it wouldn't be decent.
I'm sure you don't mean that, Mr. Higgins.
Miss Doolittle.
Ah, here she is, Mother.
How do you do, Mrs. Higgins? Mr. Higgins told me I might come.
Quite right. I'm very glad indeed to see you.
How do you do, Miss Doolittle?
Colonel Pickering, is it not?
I feel sure that we have met before, Miss Doolittle. I remember your eyes.
How do you do?
My daughter, Clara.
How do you do?
How do you do?
I've certainly had the pleasure.
My son, Freddie.
How do you do?
Oh, yes. It all comes back to me. Oh, Covent Garden. What a damned thing.
Henry, please. Will it rain, do you think?
The shallow depression in the west of these islands is likely to move slowly in an easterly direction. There are no indications of any great change in the barometrical situation.
How awfully funny.
What is wrong with that, young man? I bet I got it right.
Killing.
I'm sure I hope it won't turn cold. There's so much influenza about. It runs through our whole family regularly every spring.
My aunt died of influenza, so they said. But it's my belief they've done the old woman in.
Done her in.
Yes, Lord love you. Why should she die of influenza? She come through diphtheria right enough the year before. I saw her with me own eyes. Fairly blue with it she was. They all thought she was dead. But my father, he kept ladling gin down her throat till she came to so sudden she bit the bowl off the spoon.
Dear me!
What call would a woman with that strength in her have to die of influenza? What become of her new straw hat that should have come to me? Somebody pinched it, and what I say is, them as pinched it done her in.
What does doing her in mean?
Oh, that's the new small talk. To do a person in means to kill them.
You surely don't believe that your aunt was killed?
Do I not? Them that she lived with would have killed her for a hat pin, let alone a hat.
But it can't have been right for your father to pour spirits down her throat like that. It might have killed her.
Oh, not her. Gin was mother's milk to her. Besides, he'd poured so much down his own throat that he knew the good of it.
Do you mean that he drank?
Drank, my word, something chronic.
Oh, how dreadful for you.
Oh, not a bit. It never did him no harm, what I could see. But then he did not keep it up regular, on the burst, as you might say, from time to time, and always more agreeable when he had a drop in. When he was out of work, my mother used to give him 4p and tell him to go out and not come back until he'd drunk himself cheerful and loving like. There's lots of women has to make the husbands drunk to make them fit to live with. You see, it's like this. If a man has a bit of a conscience, it always takes him when he's sober, and then it makes him low-spirited. A drop of booze just takes that off and makes him happy. Yeah. What are you sniggering at?
The new small talk. You do it so awfully well.
If I was doing it proper, what are you laughing at? Have I said anything I oughtn't?
Not at all, Miss Doolittle.
Well, that's a mercy. Anyhow, about me aunt. Well, I must go. So pleased to have met you. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, Colonel Pickering.
Goodbye, Miss Doolittle.
Goodbye, all.
Are you walking across the park, Miss Doolittle? If so...
Walk? Not bloody likely. I am going in a taxi.
Well, I really can't get used to the new ways.
Oh, it's all right, Mama. It's quite right. People will think we never go anywhere or do anything if you're so old-fashioned.
I dare say I am very old-fashioned, but I do hope you won't begin using that expression, Clara. I have got accustomed to hear you talking about men as rotters and calling everything filthy and beastly. Though I do think it's horrible and unladylike. But this last is really too much. Don't you think so, Colonel Pickering?
Oh, don't ask me. I've been away in India for several years, and manners have changed so much that sometimes I don't know whether I'm at a respectable dinner table or a ship's forecastle.
All a matter of habit. There's no right or wrong in it. Nobody means anything by it. It's so quaint. It gives such a smart emphasis to things that are not in themselves very witty. I find the new small talk to be delightful and quite innocent.
Clara's so down on me. If I am not positively wrecking with the latest slang. And now I think it's time for us to go.
Goodbye. Such nonsense, all this early Victorian prudery.
Such damned nonsense.
Such bloody nonsense.
Clara? You mustn't mind Clara. We're so poor, and she gets so few parties. Poor child. She doesn't quite know. But the boy is nice, don't you think so? It's no use. I shall never be able to bring myself to use that word. Come, Freddie.
Goodbye.
Well, is Eliza presentable?
You silly boy, of course she's not presentable. She's a triumph of your art and of her dressmakers. But if you suppose for a moment that she doesn't give herself away in every sentence she utters, you must be perfectly cracked about her.
But don't you think something might be done? I mean, something to eliminate the sanguinary element of the conversation.
Not as long as she's in Henry's hands.
Do you mean that my language is improper?
No, dearest. It would be quite proper, say, on a canal barge, but it would not be proper for her at a garden party.
Must say.
Colonel Pickering, will you tell me what is the exact state of things in Wimpole Street?
I have come to live there with Henry. We work together at my Indian dialects, which I think much more convenient.
Quite so, I know all about that. It's an excellent arrangement. But where does the girl live?
With us, of course. Where would she live?
But on what terms? Is she a servant? If not, what is she?
I think I know what you mean, Mrs. Higgins.
Oh, dash me if I do. I've had to work at the girl every day for months to get her to her present pitch. Besides, she's useful. She knows where my things are and remembers my appointments and so forth.
How does your housekeeper get on with her?
Mrs. Pierce? She's jolly glad to get so much taken off her hands. For before Eliza came, she had to find my things and remind me of my appointments. But she's got some silly bee in her bonnet about Eliza. She keeps saying, "You don't think, sir," doesn't she, Pick?
Yes, that's the formula. You don't think, sir, at the end of every conversation about Eliza.
As if I ever stop thinking about the girl and her confounded vowels and consonants. I'm worn out thinking about her and watching her lips and her teeth and her tongue, not to mention her soul, which is the quaintest of the lot.
You certainly are a pretty pair of babies, playing with your live doll.
Playing? The hardest job I ever tackled, make no mistake about that, Mother. But you have no idea how frightfully interesting it is to take a human being and change her into a quite different human being by creating a new speech for her. It's filling up the deepest gulf that separates class from class and soul from soul.
I assure you, Mrs. Higgins, that we take Eliza very seriously. Every week, every day almost, there's some new change. We keep records of every stage, dozens of gramophone discs and photographs.
Yes, by George, it's the most absorbing experiment I ever tackled. She regularly fills our lives up, doesn't she, Pick?
We're always talking Eliza.
Teaching Eliza.
Dressing Eliza.
What?
Inventing new Elizas.
I assure you, my dear Mrs. Higgins, that girl is a
just like
genius. She can play the
I've tried
piano quite
every
beautifully.
possible
We have
sound.
taken her to
Being
classical
mixed
concerts
upon
and
mental
musical. It's all the same to her. She plays everything she hears right on she comes home. Whether it's
Quiet!
Shush!
Shush! Shush!
I beg your pardon.
Sorry, when Pickering starts shouting, nobody can get a word in
Be
edgewise.
quiet, Henry. Colonel Pickering, don't you realize that when Eliza walked into Wimpole Street, something walked in with her?
Her father did, but Henry soon got rid of him.
Would be more to the point if her mother had. But as her mother didn't, something else did.
What?
A problem.
Oh, I see. The problem of how to pass her off as a lady.
I'll solve that problem. I've half solved it already.
No, you two infinitely stupid male creatures. The problem of what is to be done with her afterwards.
I don't see anything in that. She can go her own way with all the advantages I've given her.
The advantages of that poor woman who was here just now. The manners and habits that disqualify a fine lady from earning her own living without giving her a fine lady's income. Is that what you mean?
They'll be all right, Mrs. Higgins.
We'll find her some light employment.
Oh, she's happy enough. Don't you worry about her. Goodbye.
Anyhow, there's no good bothering now. The thing's done. Goodbye, Mother. Pickering, let's take her to the Shakespeare exhibition at Earl's Court.
Oh, yes, her remarks will be delicious. I think it's one of the Henrys.
Yes.
Men. Men. Men.
We find ourselves back at Higgins' place. It is at least a month after the incident we just witnessed. Higgins and Pickering are all dressed up after having gone to the ambassador's exclusive garden party. Or was it a dinner party? Or maybe a ball? Anyhow, it was a very fancy event. Eliza is beyond dressed up. Eliza is stunning. The time is late.
What evening?
What an evening indeed. Oh,
Professor Nippian, he's such an
I
idiot.
couldn't believe it for a moment.
Still up. I wonder where the devil my slippers are. Oh, Lord, what an evening. What a crew, what silly tomfoolery. Oh, they're there, are they?
Oh, and I feel a bit tired. It's been a long day. The garden party, a dinner party, and the opera. Rather too much of a good thing. But you've won your bet, Higgins. Eliza did the trick and something to spare, eh?
Thank God it's over.
Oh, were you nervous at the garden party? I was. Eliza didn't seem a bit nervous.
She wasn't nervous. I knew she'd be all right. No, it's the strain of putting the job through all these months that has told on me. It was interesting at first while we were at the phonetics, but after that I got deadly sick of it. If I had backed myself to do it, I should have chucked the whole thing up 2 months ago. It was a silly notion. The whole thing has been a bore.
Oh, come. The garden party was frightfully exciting. My heart began beating like anything.
Yes, for the first 3 minutes, but when I saw we were going to win hands down, I felt like a bear in a cage, hanging about doing nothing. The dinner was worse, sitting gorging there for over an hour with nobody but a damned fool of a fashionable woman to talk to. I tell you, Pickering, never again for me. No more artificial duchesses. The whole thing has been simple purgatory.
Oh, you've never been broken in properly to the social routine. I rather enjoy dipping into it occasionally myself. It makes me feel young again. Anyway, it was a great success, an immense success. I was quite frightened once or twice because Eliza was doing it so well. You see, lots of real people can't do it at all. They're such fools that they think style comes by nature to people in their position, so they never learn. There's always something professional about doing a thing superlatively well.
Yes, that's what drives me mad. The silly people don't know their own silly business. However, it's over and done with, and now I can go to bed at last without dreading tomorrow.
I think I shall turn in too. So it's been a great occasion, a triumph for you. Good night.
Good night. Put out the lights, Eliza, and tell Mrs. Pierce not to make coffee for me in the morning. I'll take tea. What the devil have I done with my slippers?
There are your slippers! And there! Take your slippers and may you never have a day's luck with them!
What's the matter? Anything wrong?
Nothing wrong with you! I've won your bet for you, haven't I? That's enough for you. I don't matter, I suppose.
You won my bet. You presumptuous insect. I won it. What did you throw those slippers at me for?
Because I wanted to smash your face. I'd like to kill you, you selfish brute. Why didn't you leave me where you picked me out of? In the gutter. You thank God it's all over now that you can throw me back again there, do you?
The creature is nervous after all.
Ah!
How dare you show your temper to me? Calm down and be quiet.
What's to become of me? What's to become of me?
How the devil do I know what's to become of you? Why does it matter what's to become of you?
You don't care. I know you don't care. You wouldn't care if I was dead. I am nothing to you. Not so much as them slippers.
Those slippers.
Those slippers. I didn't think it made any difference now.
Why have you begun going on like this? May I ask whether you complain of your treatment here?
No.
Has anybody behaved badly to you? Colonel Pickering, Mrs. Pierce, any of the servants?
No.
I presume you don't pretend that I have treated you badly.
No.
I am glad to hear it. Perhaps you're tired after the strain of the day. Will you have a glass of champagne?
No. Thank you.
This has been coming on you for some days. And I suppose it was natural for you to be anxious about the garden party, but that's all over now. There's nothing more to worry about.
No, nothing more for you to worry about. Oh God, I wish I was dead.
Why? In heaven's name, why? Listen to me, Eliza. All this irritation is purely subjective.
I don't understand. I'm too ignorant.
It's only imagination. Low spirits and nothing else. And nobody's hurting you, nothing's wrong. You go to bed like a good girl and sleep it off. Have a little cry and say your prayers, and that will make you comfortable.
I heard your prayers. Thank God it's over.
Well, don't you thank God it's over? Now you are free and can do what you like.
What am I fit for? What have you left me fit for? Where am I to go? What am I to do? What's to become of me?
That's what's worrying you, is it? I shouldn't bother about that if I were you. I should imagine you won't have much difficulty in settling yourself somewhere or other, though I hadn't quite realized you were going away. You might marry, you know. You see, Eliza, all men are not the confirmed old bachelors like me and the Colonel. Most men are the marrying sort, devils, and you're not bad looking. It's quite a pleasure to look at you sometimes. Not now, of course, because you're crying and looking as ugly as the very devil, but when you're all right and quite yourself, you're what I should call attractive. That is, to the people in the marrying line, you understand. You go to bed and have a nice, good rest, and then get up and look at yourself in the glass, and you won't feel so cheap. I dare say my mother could find some chap or other who would do quite well.
We were above that, at the corner of Tottenham Court Road.
What do you mean?
I sold flowers. I didn't sell myself. Now you've made a lady of me. I'm not fit to sell anything else. I wish you'd left me where you found me.
Eliza, don't you insult human relations by dragging all this cant about buying and selling into it. You needn't marry the fellow if you don't like him.
What else am I to do?
Lots of things. What about your old idea of a florist shop? Pickering could set you up in one. He's lots of money. He'll have to pay for all those togs you've been wearing today, and that, with the hire of the jewellery, will make a big hole in £200. Why, 6 months ago, you would have thought it the millennium to have a flower shop of your own. Come, you'll be all right. I must clear off to bed. I'm devilish sleepy. By the way, I came down for something. I forget what it was.
Your slippers.
Oh, yes, of course. You shied them at me.
Before you go, sir,
Eh?
do my clothes belong to me or to Colonel Pickering?
The devil use would they be to Pickering?
He might want them for the next girl you pick up to experiment on.
Is that the way you feel towards us?
I don't want to hear anything more about it. All I want to know is whether anything belongs to me. My own clothes were burnt.
But what does it matter? Why need you start bothering about this in the middle of the night?
I want to know what I might take away with me. I don't want to be accused of stealing.
Stealing? You shouldn't have said that, Eliza. That shows a want of feeling.
I'm sorry. I'm only a common, ignorant girl, and in my station I have to be careful. There can't be any feelings between the like of you and the like of me. Please, will you tell me what belongs to me and what doesn't?
You may take the whole damned household if you like, except the jewels. They're hired. Will that satisfy you?
Oh, stop, please. Will you take these to your room and keep them safe? I don't want to run the risk of them being missing.
Hand them over. If these belong to me instead of to the jeweler, I'd ram them down your ungrateful throat.
This ring isn't the jeweler's. It's the one you bought me in Brighton. I don't want it now. Don't you hit me!
Hit you? You infamous creature, how could you accuse me of such a thing? It is you who have hit me. You have wounded me to the very heart.
I'm glad. I've got a bit of my own back anyhow.
You have caused me to lose my temper, a thing that has hardly ever happened to me. I prefer to say nothing more tonight. I am going to bed.
You'd better leave a note for Mrs. Pierce about the coffee, for she won't be told by me.
Damn Mrs. Pierce, and damn the coffee, and damn you! And damn my own folly in having lavished my hard-earned knowledge into the treasure of my intimacy and regard on a heartless gutter snipe.
Back at Mrs. Higgins' place, where we soon discover Eliza has left, and Higgins and Pickering are perplexed. We're not doing the time-telling thing anymore, apparently. Henry, Mom, is downstairs with Colonel Pickering.
Well, show them up.
They're using the telephone, Ma'am. Telephoning to the police, I think.
What?
Mr. Henry's in a state, Ma'am. I thought I'd better tell you.
If you had told me that Mr. Henry was not in a state, it would have been more surprising. Tell them to come up when they've finished with the police. I suppose he's lost something.
Yes, Ma'am.
Go upstairs and tell Miss Doolittle that Mr. Henry and the Colonel are here. Ask her not to come down until I send for her.
Yes, Ma'am.
Look here, Mother, here's a confounded thing.
Yes, dear. Good morning. What is it?
Eliza's bolted.
You must have frightened her.
Frightened her? Nonsense. She was left last night, as usual, to turn out the lights and all that, and instead of going to bed, she changed her clothes and went right off. Her bed wasn't slept in. She came in a cab for her things before 7 this morning, and that fool, Mrs. Pierce, let her have them without telling me a word. What am I to do?
Do without, I'm afraid, Henry. The girl has a perfect right to leave if she chooses.
I can't find anything. I don't know what appointments I've got.
Good morning, Mrs. Higgins. Has Henry told you?
What does that arse of an inspector say? Have you offered a reward?
You don't mean to say that you have set the police after Eliza?
Of course. What are the police for? What else could we do?
The inspector made a lot of difficulties. I think he suspected us of some improper purpose.
Of course he did. What right have you to go to the police and give the girl's name as if she were a thief or a lost umbrella or something? Really?
We want to find her.
We can't let her go like this, you know, Mrs. Higgins. What were we to do?
You have no more sense, either of you, than 2 children. Why, I can't believe...
Mr. Henry, a gentleman wants to see you very particular. He's been sent on from Wimpole Street.
Bother, I can't see anyone now. Who is it?
Mr. Doolittle, sir.
Doolittle? You mean the dustman?
A dustman? Oh, no, sir, a gentleman.
By George, Pick, it's some relative of hers that she's gone to. Somebody that we know nothing about. Send him up, quick.
Yes, sir.
Oh, genteel relatives. Now we shall hear something.
Do you know any of her people?
Only her father, the fellow we told you about.
Mr. Doolittle.
See here. Do you see this? You done this.
Done what, man?
This, I tell you. Look at it. Look at this hat. Look at this coat.
Has Eliza been buying you clothes?
Liza, not she. Not half. Why would she buy me clothes?
Good morning, Mr. Doolittle. Won't you come in?
Asking your pardon, Mum. Thank you. I'm that full of what's happening to me that, well, I can't think of anything else.
What the dickens has happened to you?
Well, I shouldn't mind if it had only happened to me. Anything might happen to anybody, and nobody to blame but Providence, as you might say. But this is something you've done to me. Yes, you, Henry Higgins.
Have you found Eliza? That's the point.
You lost her?
Yes!
You've all the luck you have. I ain't found her. But she'll quick enough find me now after what you've done to me.
But what has my son done to you, Mr. Doolittle?
Done to me, ruined me, destroyed my happiness, tied me up and delivered me into the hands of middle-class morality.
You're raving, you're drunk, you're mad. I gave you £5. After that, I had 2 conversations with you at £0.50 an hour. I've never seen you since.
Drunk, am I? Mad, am I? Tell me this. Did you or did you not write a letter to an old blighter in America that was given $5 million to found moral reform societies all over the world, and they wanted you to invent a universal language for him?
What, Ezra D. Wannafeller? He's dead.
Yes, he's dead and I'm done for. Now, did you or did you not write a letter to him to say that the most original moralist at present in England, to the best of your knowledge, was Alfred Doolittle, a common dustman?
After your last visit, I remember making some silly joke of the kind.
You may well call it a silly joke. Put the lid on me right enough. Just give him a chance. He wanted to show that Americans is not like us. That they recognise and respect merit in every class of life, however humble. And worse than his bloomin' will, they is. In which, Henry Higgins, thanks to your silly joking, he leaves me a share in his predigested cheese trust worth $3,000 a year on the condition that I lecture for his Wannafeller Moral Reform World League as often as they ask me. Up to 6 times a year.
The devil he does. What a lark.
Safe thing for you, Doolittle. They won't ask you to lecture twice.
It ain't the lecturing I mind. I'll lecture him blue in the face, I will. Not turn an hair. It's making a gentleman of me that I object to. Who asked him to make a gentleman of me? I was happy. I was free. I touched pretty nigh everybody for money when I wanted it. Same as I touched you, Henry Higgins. Now, I'm worried. Tied neck and heels, and everybody touches me for money. It's a fine thing for you, says my solicitor. Is it, says I. You mean it's a good thing for you, I says. Anyhow, I'm not let do an handstand for myself. Somebody else must do it and touch me for it. A year ago, I hadn't a relative in the world, except 2 or 3 wouldn't speak to me. Now, I'm 50, and not a decent week's wages among the lot of them. I have to live for others now, and not for myself. That's middle-class morality. You talk of losing Eliza? Don't you be anxious. I bet she's on my doorstep by this. She could support herself easy by selling flowers, if I wasn't respectable. And the next one to touch me will be you, Henry Higgins. I have to learn the middle class language from you instead of speaking proper English. That's where you come in. And I dare say that's what you've done it for.
But, my dear Mr. Doolittle, you need not suffer all this if you are really in earnest. Nobody can force you to accept the bequest. You can repudiate it. Isn't that so, Colonel Pickering?
I believe so.
Oh, that's the tragedy of it, man. It's easy to say chuck it, but I haven't the nerve. Which one of us has? We're all intimidated. Intimidated, Mum. That's what we are. What is there for me if I chuck in but the workhouse in my old age? I have to dye my hair already to keep my job as a dustman. If I was one of the deserving poor and it put by a bit, I could chuck it. But then, why should I? Because the deserving poor might as well be millionaires for all the happiness they ever has. I don't know what happiness is. But I, as one of the undeserving poor, have nothing between me and a pauper's uniform but this here blasted 3,000 a year that shoves me into the middle class. Excuse the expression, Mum. You'd use it yourself if you had more provocation. Intimidated. That's what I am. Broke. Bought up. Happier men than me will call for my dust and touch me for their tip. And I look on and envy them. And that is what your son has brought me to.
Well, I'm very glad you're not going to do anything foolish, Mr. Doolittle, for this solves the problem of Eliza's future. You can provide for her now.
Yes, Mum, I'm expected to provide for everyone now. Out of 3,000 a year.
Nonsense. He can't provide for her. He shan't provide for her. She doesn't belong to him. I paid him £5 for her. Doolittle, either you're an honest man or a rogue.
Little of both, Henry, like the rest of us. Little of both.
Well, you took the money for that girl, and you have no right to take her as well.
Henry, don't be absurd. If you really want to know where Eliza is, she is upstairs.
Then I shall very jolly soon fetch her downstairs.
Be quiet, Henry. Calm down. Calm down, dear, and listen to me.
Very well, very well, very well, very well. But I think you might have told me this half an hour ago.
Eliza came to me this morning. She passed the night partly walking about in a rage, partly trying to throw herself into the river and being afraid to, and partly in the Carlton Hotel. She told me of the brutal way you two treated her.
What? My dear Mrs. Higgins, she's been telling you stories. We didn't treat her brutally, and we hardly said a word to her, and we parted on particularly good terms. Higgins, did you bully her after I went to bed?
Just the other way about. She threw my slippers in my face. She behaved in the most outrageous way. I never gave her the slightest provocation. The slippers came bang into my face the moment I entered the room, before I had uttered a word, and used perfectly awful language.
But why? What would we do to her?
I think I know pretty well what you did. The girl is naturally rather affectionate, I think. Isn't she, Mr. Doolittle?
Oh, very tender-hearted, Mum. Takes after me.
Just so. She had become quite attached to you both. She worked very hard for you, Henry. I don't think you quite realize what anything in the nature of brain work means to a girl like that. Well, it seems that when the great day of trial came, and she did this wonderful thing for you without making a single mistake, you two sat there and never said a word to her, but talked together of how glad you were that it was all over, and how you had been bored with the whole thing. And then you were surprised because she threw your slippers at you. I should have thrown the fire irons at you.
We said nothing except that we were tired and wanted to go to bed. Did we, Pick?
That was all.
Quite sure.
Absolutely, really, that was all.
You didn't thank her, or pet her, or admire her, or tell her how splendid she'd be.
But she knew all about that. We didn't make speeches to her, if that's what you mean.
Perhaps we were a little inconsiderate. Is she very angry?
Well, I'm afraid she won't go back to Wimpole Street, especially now that Mr. Doolittle is able to keep up the position you have thrust on her. But she says she is quite willing to meet you on friendly terms and to let bygones be bygones.
Is she, by George?
If you promise to behave, Henry, I'll ask her to come down. If not, go home. We have taken up quite enough of my time.
Oh, all right. Very well. Pick, you behave yourself. Let us put on our best Sunday manners for this creature that we have picked up out of the mud.
Now, Henry Higgins, have some consideration for my feelings as a middle-class man.
Remember your promise, Henry. Mr. Doolittle, will you be so good as to step out onto the balcony for a moment? I don't want Eliza to have the shock of your news until she has made it up with these two gentlemen. Would you mind?
As you wish, milady. Anything to help Henry keep her off me hands.
Ask Miss Doolittle to come down, please.
Yes, Mum.
Now, Henry, be good.
I am behaving myself perfectly.
He's doing his best, Mrs. Higgins.
Henry, dearest, you don't look at all nice in that attitude.
I was not trying to look nice, Mother.
It doesn't matter, dear. I only wanted to make you speak.
Why?
Because you can't speak and whistle at the same time.
Where the devil is that girl? Are we to wait here all day?
How do you do, Professor Higgins? Are you quite well?
Am I?
But of course you are. You are never ill. So good to see you again, Colonel Pickering. Quite chilly this morning, isn't it?
Don't you dare try this game on me. I taught it to you and it doesn't take me in. Get up and come home and don't be a fool.
Very nicely put indeed, Henry. No woman could resist such an invitation.
You let her alone, Mother. Let her speak for herself. You will jolly soon see whether she has an idea that I haven't put into her head or a word that I haven't put into her mouth. I tell you, I have created this thing out of the squashed cabbage leaves of Covent Garden, and now she pretends to play the fine lady with me.
Yes, dear. But you will calm down, won't you?
Will you drop me altogether now that the experiment is over, Colonel Pickering?
Oh, don't you? You mustn't think of it as an experiment. It shocks me somehow.
Oh, I'm only a squashed cabbage leaf.
No.
But I owe so much to you that I should be very unhappy if you forgot me.
Oh, it's very kind of you to say so, Miss Doolittle.
It's not because you paid for my dresses. I know you are generous to everybody with money, but it was from you that I learnt really nice manners. And that is what makes one a lady, isn't it? You see, it was so very difficult for me with the example of Professor Higgins always before me. I was brought up to be just like him, unable to control myself, using bad language at the slightest provocation. And I should never have known that ladies and gentlemen didn't behave like that if you hadn't been there.
Oh,
That's only his way, you know. He doesn't mean it.
Oh, I didn't mean it either when I was a flower girl. It was only my way. But you see, I did it. And that's what makes the difference after all.
No doubt. Still, he taught you to speak. I couldn't have done that, you know.
Of course, that is his profession.
damnation.
It was just like learning to dance in the fashionable way. There was nothing more in it than that. But do you know what began my real education?
What?
You calling me Miss Doolittle that day when I first came to Wimpole Street. That was the beginning of self-respect for me. And there were 100 little things you never noticed because they came naturally to you. Things about standing up and taking off your hat and opening doors.
That was nothing.
Yes, things that showed you thought and felt about me as if I was something better than a scullery maid. Though, of course, I know you would have been just the same to a scullery maid if she had been let in the drawing room. You never took off your boots in the dining room when I was there.
Oh, you mustn't mind that. Higgins takes all his boots all over the place.
I know. I am not blaming him. It is his way, isn't it? But it made such a difference to me that you didn't do it. You see, really and truly, apart from the things anybody can pick up, the difference between a lady and a flower girl is not how she behaves, but how she's treated. I shall always be a flower girl to Professor Higgins, because he always treats me as a flower girl, and always will. But I know I can be a lady to you, because you always treat me as a lady, and always will.
Please don't grind your teeth, Henry.
This is really very nice of you, Miss Doolittle.
I should like you to call me Eliza now, if you would.
Thank you. Eliza, of course.
And I should like Professor Higgins to call me Miss Doolittle.
You damn first.
Henry! Henry!
Why don't you slang back at it? Don't stand it. It would do him a lot of good.
I could have done it once, but now I can't go back to it. Last night, when I was wandering about, a girl spoke to me, and I tried to get back into the old way with her, but it was no use. You told me, you know, that when a child is brought to a foreign country, it picks up the language in a few weeks, but forgets its own. Well, I am a child in your country. I have forgotten my own language and can speak nothing but yours. That's the real break-off with the corner of Tottenham Court Road. Leaving Wimpole Street finishes it.
But you're coming back to Wimpole Street, aren't you? You'll forgive Higgins.
Forgive? Will she, by George? Let her find out how she can get on without us. She will relapse into the gutter in 3 weeks without me at her elbow.
Oh, he's incorrigible, Eliza. You won't relapse, will you?
No, not now. Never again. I have learnt my lesson. I don't believe I could utter one of the old sounds if I tried.
Eliza?
Oh!
Just so. Oh! Oh! Ah! Victory! Victory!
Can you blame the girl? Don't look at me like that, Eliza. It ain't my fault. I've come into money.
You must have touched a millionaire this time, Dad.
I have. But I'm dressed something special today. I'm going to St. George's, Hanover Square. Your stepmother is going to marry me.
You're going to let yourself down to marry that low, common woman.
Oh, he ought to, Eliza. Why has she changed her mind?
Intimidated, governor. Intimidated. Middle-class morality claims its victim. Why don't you put on your hat, Eliza? Come see me turned off?
If the Colonel says I must, I'll demean myself. And get insulted for my pains like enough.
No, don't be afraid. She never comes to words with anyone now. Poor woman. Respectability has broke all the spirit out of her.
Be kind to them, Eliza. Make the best of it.
Oh, well, just to show there's no ill feeling. I'll be back in a moment.
I feel uncommon nervous about this ceremony, Colonel. I wish you'd come and see me through it.
But you've been through it before, man. You were married to Eliza's mother.
Who told you that, Colonel?
Nobody told me. I just concluded naturally.
No, that ain't the natural way, Colonel. It's only the middle class way. My way was always the undeserving way. But don't say nothing to Eliza. She don't know, and I always had a delicacy about telling her.
All right. We'll leave it so, if you don't mind.
And you'll come to the church, Colonel, and put me through straight?
With pleasure. As far as a bachelor can.
May I come, Mr. Doolittle? I should be very sorry to miss your wedding.
Oh, I should indeed be honoured by your condescension, Mum. My poor old woman would take as a tremendous compliment. She's been very low, thinking about the happy days that are no more.
I'll order the carriage and get ready. I shan't be more than 15 minutes. I'm going to the church to see your father married, Eliza. You had better come in the brougham with me. Colonel Pickering can go on with the bridegroom.
Bridegroom. What a word. Makes man realise his position somehow.
Before I go, Eliza, do forgive Higgins and come back to us.
I don't think Papa would allow me. Would you, Dad?
Oh, well, they played you off very cunning, Eliza, them two sportsmen. If it had only been one of them, then you could have nailed him, but you see there was two, and one of them chaperoned the other, as you might say. It was awful of you, Colonel, but I bear no malice. I should have done the same myself. I've been a victim of one woman after another all my life. And I don't grudge the two of you getting the better of Eliza. I shan't interfere. Well, it's time for us to go, Colonel. So long, Henry. See you in St. George's, Eliza.
Do come stay with us, Eliza.
Well, Eliza, you've had a bit of your own back, as you call it. Have you had enough? And are you going to be reasonable, or do you want any more?
You want me back only to pick up your slippers and put up with your tempers and fetch and carry for you.
I haven't said I wanted you back at all.
Oh, indeed. Then what are we talking about?
About you, not about me. If you come back, I shall treat you just as I have always treated you. I can't change my nature, and I don't intend to change my manners. My manners are exactly the same as Colonel Pickering's.
That's not true. He treats a flower girl as if she were a duchess.
And I treat a duchess as if she was a flower girl.
I see. The same to everybody.
Just so.
Like father.
Without accepting the comparison at all points, Eliza, it's quite true that your father is not a snob, and that he will be quite at home at any station of life to which his eccentric destiny may call him. The great secret, Eliza, is not having bad manners or good manners or any other particular sort of manners, but having the same manner for all human souls. In short, behaving as if you were in heaven where there are no third-class carriages and one soul is as good as another.
Amen. You are a born preacher.
The question is not whether I treated you rudely, but whether you have ever heard me treat anyone else better.
I don't care how you treat me. I don't mind your swearing at me. I don't mind a black eye. I've had one before. But I won't be passed over.
Then get out of my way, for I won't stop for you. You talk about me as if I were a motor bus.
So you are a motor bus, all bounce and go and no consideration for anyone. But I can do without you. Don't think I can't.
I know you can. I told you you could. You never asked yourself, I suppose, whether I could do without you.
Don't you try to get round me. You'll have to do without me.
I can do without anybody. I have my own soul, my own spark of divine fire. But I shall miss you, Eliza. I have learned something from your idiotic notions. I confess that humbly and gratefully. And I have grown accustomed to your voice and appearance. I like them, rather.
Well, you have both of them on your gramophone and in your book of photographs. When you feel lonely without me, you can turn the machine on. It's got no feelings to hurt.
I can't turn your soul on. Leave me those feelings and you can take away the voice and the face. They are not you.
Oh, you are a devil! You can twist the heart in a girl as easy as some could twist her arm to hurt her. Mrs. Pierce warned me. Time and again she has wanted to leave you, and you always got round to her at the last minute. And you don't care a bit for her. And you don't care a bit for me.
I care about life, about humanity, and you are a part of that has come my way and been built into my house. What more can you or anyone ask?
I won't care for anybody that doesn't care for me.
Commercial principles, Eliza. Like showing violets, innit?
Don't sneer at me. It's mean to sneer at me.
I have never sneered in my life. Sneering doesn't become either the human face or the human soul. I am expressing my righteous contempt for commercialism. I don't and won't trade in affection. You call me a brute because you couldn't buy a claim on me by fetching my slippers and finding my spectacles? You were a fool. I think a woman fetching a man's slippers is a disgusting sight. Did I ever fetch your slippers? I think a good deal more of you for throwing them in my face. If you come back for the sake of good fellowship, for you'll get nothing else. You've had 1,000 times more out of me than I have had out of you, and if you dare to set up with your little dog's trick of fetching and carrying slippers against my creation of a Duchess, Eliza, I'll slam the door in your silly face.
What did you do it for if you didn't care for me?
Because it was my job.
You never thought of the trouble it would make for me.
Eliza, you're an idiot. I waste the treasures of my Miltonic mind by spreading them before you. Once for all, understand that I go my way and do my work without caring tuppence what happens to either of us. I am not intimidated like your father and your stepmother. So, you can come back or go to the devil, which you please.
What am I to come back for?
For the fun of it. And that's why I took you on.
And you may throw me out tomorrow if I don't do everything you want me to.
Yes, and you may walk out tomorrow if I don't do everything you want me to.
And live with my stepmother?
Yes, or sell flowers.
Oh, if only I could go back to my flower basket. I should be independent of you and father and all the world. Why did you take my independence from me? Why did I give it up?
Not a bit. I'll adopt you as my daughter and settle money on you if you like. Or would you rather marry Pickering?
I wouldn't marry you if you asked me. And you're nearer my age than what he is.
Than he is. Not than what he is.
I'll talk as I like. You're not my teacher now.
I don't suppose Pickering would, though. He's as confirmed an old bachelor as me.
That's not what I want. And don't you think it is? I've always had chaps enough wanting me that way. Freddie Hill writes to me 2 and 3 times a day. Sheets and sheets.
Oh, damn his impudence.
He has a right to if he likes, poor lad. And he does love me.
You have no right to encourage him.
Every girl has a right to be loved.
What, by fools like that?
Freddie's not a fool. And if he's weak and poor and wants me, maybe he'd make me happier than my betters that bully me and don't want me.
He make anything of you, that's the point.
Perhaps I could make something of him. But I never thought of us making anything of one another, and you never think of anything else. I only want to be natural.
In short, you want me to be as infatuated about you as Freddie. Is that it?
I want a little kindness. I know I'm a common, ignorant girl, and you a book-learned gentleman. But I'm not dirt under your feet. What I did was not for the dresses and the taxis. I did it because we were pleasant together, and I came to care for you. Not to want you to make love to me, and not forgetting the differences between us, but more friendly-like.
Well, of course. That's just how I feel and how Pickering feels. Eliza, you're a fool.
That's not a proper answer to give me.
It's all you'll get until you stop being a common idiot. If you're going to be a lady, you'll have to give up feeling neglected if the men you know don't spend half their time snivelling over you and the other half giving you black eyes. You find me cold. I'm feeling selfish, don't you? Very well. Be off with you to the sort of people you like. Marry some sentimental hog or other with lots of money and a thick pair of lips to kiss you with and a thick pair of boots to kick you with. If you can't appreciate what you've got, you'd better get what you can appreciate.
Oh, you are a cruel tyrant. I can't talk to you. You turn everything against me. I'm always in the wrong. But you know very well all the time that you're nothing but a bully. You know I can't go back to the gutter, as you call it, and that I have no real friends in the world but you and the Colonel. You know well I couldn't bear to live with a low common man after you two, and it's wicked and cruel of you to insult me by pretending I could. You think I must go back to Wimpole Street because I have nowhere else to go but father's. But don't you be too sure that you have me under your feet to be trampled on and talked down to. If I marry, I'll marry Freddie. I will, as soon as he's able to support me.
Rubbish! You shall marry an ambassador. You shall marry the Governor-General of India or the Lord Lieutenant of Ireland or somebody who wants a deputy queen. I'm not going to have my masterpiece thrown away on Freddie.
You think I like you to say all that? But I haven't forgot what you said a minute ago, and I won't be coaxed round as if I were a baby or a puppy. If I can't have kindness, I'll have independence.
Independence? That's middle-class blasphemy. We are all dependent on one another, every soul of us on earth.
I'll let you see whether I'm dependent on you. If you can preach, I can teach. I'll go and be a teacher.
What'll you teach in heaven's name?
What you taught me. I'll teach phonetics. I'll offer myself as an assistant to Professor Nepean.
What? That impostor, that humbug, that toting ignoramus. Teach him my methods, my discoveries. You take one step in his direction and I'll wring your neck, do you hear?
Ring away! What do I care? I knew you'd strike me someday. Aha! Now I know how to deal with you. What a fool I was not to think of it before. You can't take away the knowledge you gave me. You said I had a finer ear than you. And I can be civil and kind to people, which is more than you can do. Ha! That's done you, Henry Higgins, it has. Now I don't care that for your bullying and your big talk. I'll advertise it in the papers that your Duchess is only a flower girl that you taught, and that she'll teach anybody to be a Duchess just the same in 6 months for 1,000 guineas. Oh, when I think of myself crawling under your feet and being trampled on and called names, when all the time I had only to lift my finger to be as good as you. Oh, I could just kick myself.
You damned impudent slut, you! But it's better than snivelling, better than fetching slippers and finding spectacles, isn't it? By George, Eliza, I said I'd make a woman of you, and I have. I like you like this.
Yes, you turn around and make it up to me now that I'm not afraid of you and can do without you.
Of course I do, you little fool. 5 minutes ago, you were like a millstone round my neck. Now you're a tower of strength, the consort battleship. You and I and Pickering will be 3 old bachelors together instead of only 2 men and a silly girl.
The carriage is waiting, Eliza. Are you ready?
Quite. Is the professor coming?
Certainly not. He can't behave himself in church. He makes remarks out loud all the time on the clergyman's pronunciation.
Then I shall not see you again, Professor. Goodbye.
Goodbye, dear.
Goodbye, Mother. Oh, by the way, Eliza, order a ham and Stilton cheese, will you? And buy me a pair of reindeer gloves, number 8, and a tie to match that new suit of mine at Ill and Binman's. You can choose the colour.
Buy them yourself.
I'm afraid you've spoiled that girl, Henry. But never mind, dear. I'll buy you the tie and gloves.
Oh, don't bother. She'll buy them enough, all right. Goodbye.
So, you're probably wondering what happened next. Does Eliza come back to Higgins? Does she marry Freddie? Does she get to work in the flower shop like she originally dreamed? Well, according to the author of this play, and unlike the popular film depictions, she does marry Freddie, despite him being rather useless, and is happily supported financially in her flower shop endeavors by Pickering and...
Whoa! Hang on!
What are you doing?
I'm ending this with my side of the story. Marry Freddie and be expected to rely on him. Go back to Higgins after how he treated me. This is ridiculous.
Hey, don't blame me. I didn't write this or any of its popular film depictions. I am just an impartial narrator.
Impartial my ass. I'll show you impartial. I'll tell you what really happens next, based on what I think is best for me, Eliza.
Okay then.
Freddie? I'm very sorry, but I don't want to get married.
Oh.
Higgins, I'm not living with you anymore or doing your bidding on unequal footing.
Suit yourself.
Pickering, although it is a kind offer, I'm not going to live off your charity.
Well, I'm dashed.
I'm going to make a new start as a woman who works in a flower shop. Or perhaps I will tutor. Or both. I'm going to find a way to find my own way and be my own independent person. I'm going to give people who don't normally have a chance at success and happiness a chance, somehow, by living my own dreams, by teaching if and when I can. I owe that to myself. It's not going to be easy, but I'm going to find a way to do it. Whatever it ends up looking like in the end, or die trying. And you lot can either be part of my life or not, but it will be on my terms, not the terms someone has deemed appropriate for someone of my standing or what should be expected of me considering what I came from and how I got here.
Good for you, Eliza.
Thank you for coming.
I'm going to break into the sherry now, Mother, if you don't mind.